Today we are going to try and do the impossible and predict the future. With Mega Dream going crazy right now, now's a good time to be able to try and correlate what the early sales data will mean for our Ascended Heroes release in English in 2026. As you guys may or may not know, the release schedule for Ascended Heroes seems a little chaotic, and we're going to try and make sense of all of this information as soon as we can so that we can be better prepared for our English release. What's up, guys? My name is Steve. This is Steel City Stacks. Thanks for clicking onto the video. Let's dive straight into this one. So for this video, what I did was compile about 3 weeks of early data right off of the release for all of the 2025 Japanese sets and then their English counterparts as well. And we're going to try and see what the price was per booster box for both Japanese and English after the first 3 weeks and just try and make a little bit of sense of what actually is happening. But before we do all of the hard work, I want to give some caveats because there are some important differences between Japanese and English. And, I always love you guys commenting on stuff, but I really just want to cover as much as I can so that you guys, just don't attack me in the comments. So let's kind of break it down here. If you guys don't know, there are a lot of differences between Japanese and English, the biggest one being price. Japanese booster boxes are typically a lot cheaper than in English. And another big part of this, at least in 2025, was the effect of the tariffs. Now, on release, Terrestrial Festival and Battle Partners, which turned into Prismatic Evolutions and Journey Together respectively, were not hit with the 15% tariff. The other sets, Heatwave Arena, Glory of Team Rocket, Black Bolt, White Flare, all of them, those were all subject to 15% tariffs, so the prices are going to look a little differently. And yes, there are high class sets versus just normal releases in Japan, just like how we have specialty sets like the Prismatic Evolutions, White Flare, Black Bolt, versus like our main sets, almost said Obsidian Flames, Destined Rivals, your Mega Evolutions, Phantasmal Flames, those ones, Journey Together, those are your normal sets. So we have those. There are more hyped cards as well in certain sets. As you guys know, Journey Together, the Lily's Clefairy is way more popular in Japanese than in English. That's just the whole like waifu factor. We're not going to get into that. But there are certain cards in Japanese that are always worth more and that are more hyped. So that was just something that I wanted to mention. Fatigue, that's another thing that kind of can come into this as we get deeper into 2025. The bull market obviously has been going on for quite a while, and people have been spending a lot of time and money in the hobby. So there could be some fatigue at different points throughout the year, like now during the holiday season of 2025. And last but not least, there are the constant threat of God packs. And that has something that is just, completely changed the game. Because in English now, we are kind of almost a one-to-one with what Japanese God packs or demigod packs give versus the English ones, which is really good. But for a while, that wasn't the case. And, Terrestrial Festival or Prismatic Evolutions, if you pull a God pack, that's a multi-$1,000 pack. Almost the same thing in Black Bolt and White Flare and what looks like in Ascended Heroes / Mega Dream. That also seems like it's going to be the case. So I just want to cover that basis and just get it all out there so you guys kind of understand where I'm coming from. But we're going to relate the quantities that we're seeing and the prices initially after the first 3 weeks to kind of make sense of what's going to happen. And I think it's helpful to include the English stuff as well, because that's what we're mostly familiar with. And there's not that much Japanese content out there as it relates to this stuff. So we're going to try and make sense of everything. We'll flip the camera around and we'll start this thing. So we are going to start this off with the Japanese stuff. As a reminder, guys, I use TCG player data as kind of my medium here. Everything is different. There's eBay, there's different types of stores. There's a lot of different ways you guys can get product. This is just a healthy way for me to stay consistent so that my pricing and quantities and stuff like that remain the same throughout my videos. But we're going to start with Battle Partners. There were roughly 1,767 booster boxes sold of Battle Partners, 842 of Heatwave Arena, 957 of Glory of Team Rocket. But when you add up those two, Heatwave and Glory of Team Rocket, that does make Destined Rivals, in case you guys did not know. That has a total of just under 1,800. So 1,767 versus 1,800. Battle Partners versus the combined Glory of Team Rocket and Heatwave Arena. Black Bolt and White Flare combined up to be about 1,420. Mega Symphonia, Mega Brave added up to be about 1,612. Inferno X just under 1,600. Sold 1,599, so 200 less than what was the combination that was Destined Rivals. And then Mega Dream so far in just 16 days has sold 1,737 boxes. Now, I mentioned the whole tariff thing in the earlier part because I wanted to illustrate what happened or what had happened with Terrestrial Festival. So there were 4,307 boxes of Terrestrial Festival sold in the first 3 weeks, which again was Prismatic Evolutions. Now these ones sold at about $87. That was not subjected to the tariff. That is very important to understand because when you multiply that out, I'll do it for you guys right here. You take that multiplied by just your base 15%. There's like shipping and other stuff that goes into it, I promise. But it's about $100 here, okay? So it's not that far off for some of these other boxes, but Mega Dream actually selling for significantly more than Terrestrial Festival, which is interesting. Now, there are significantly so far less boxes sold of Mega Dream than Terrestrial Festival, but what exactly is that going to relate to? Let's take a look at our English stuff here. Journey Together sold 1,369 booster boxes in the first 3 weeks at about $212. Destined Rivals sold a whopping 2,442 at about $248. Black Bolt, 2,088 ETBs. White Flare, 1,967 ETBs. Combine those two up because they released at the same time, 4,055. That's quite a bit. But remember, only 9 packs in those ETBs, guys, versus 36 packs in the booster boxes. So price point on those, obviously a lot less as well. Just, do the quick math in your heads. Mega Evolution, 1,905 sold. That's pretty significant, honestly. And it could have something to do with print runs as well. I forgot to mention that in the caveat. As the 2025 went on, we saw more and more product hit the market. So don't chop my head off for that. I did forget to mention that. There are a lot, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not perfect. Phantasmal Flames, 2,383 sold in the first 3 weeks at $271. Mega Evolutions, by the way, was selling for $308 a box, which was insane. But you guys can see there were more and more quantities of booster boxes sold as we got further on in the year. Now, I kept Prismatic Evolutions on this far right side because I wanted it to keep consistent with Terrestrial Festival. We're going to go full screen now so you guys can kind of compare them side by side. Prismatic Evolutions, there were roughly 7,377 ETBs sold because, again, that is a specialty set. As you guys know, again, 9 packs in there. If we go and divide that by 4, divide that by 4, because then, 9 times 4 is 36. Roughly 1,844 equivalent booster boxes, if they existed, more or less, don't chop my head off for this either, guys. Just kind of making parallels here, would have sold. So 1,844 booster boxes sold. That is less than White Flare. It's less than Black Bolt, it's less than Mega Evolutions, than Phantasmal Flames, and Destined Rivals, which honestly, guys, shouldn't come as a shock because it is harder to make prismatic ETBs. That's why, there's just so many of them and they're so fluid. Plus, it's a whole investment thing, and that's just a whole different animal. But what's important to notice, guys, is the fact that there were so many Terrestrial Festival boxes sold here. And that's just like, it's important because people just continued to buy this throughout the year, but it had such a strong release. It was so hyped up. This number here, this Mega Dream, 1,737, that is just slightly less already than the combined Heatwave Arena and Glory of Team Rocket. And it's slightly less than Battle Partners. Now you're thinking, wow, Battle Partners, really? Battle Partners sold that many Japanese booster boxes? That's insane. Another reason why Terrestrial and Battle Partners sold so well initially was because there was a significant hindrance in English product at the time. Surging Sparks was sold out, Prismatic Evolutions was sold out, so a lot of people turned to the Japanese sets, Battle Partners, and then Terrestrial Festival. But a lot of people just like Terrestrial because of the evolutions. But this number here, say that the numbers continue, say that we even just sell 950 of these boxes instead in the next 5 days, which is highly likely. You sell 2,524 of them at a way higher price of about $120. That's pretty dang impressive. And again, I mentioned this because if we just say like, hey, about how much of that is of Terrestrial Festival, you guys can see roughly it's about 58.5% of what sold versus Terrestrial. But that number, the 2,524, extrapolated out if it sold 950, is significantly more than even Inferno X. And Inferno X was a very, very, very hype set because of the Charizard. Now, the Mega Dream has about every hit in it, but I can kind of confidently say that we are going to see a lot of Mega Dream sold. So these numbers were just very interesting because they do correlate down here to English as well. Of course, Destined Rivals sold more than Journey Together. As we know, that's a very popular set compared to Journey Together. White Flare and Black Bolt, both of those ETBs, just they're kind of here just to illustrate. But even Mega Evolutions, 1900, Phantasmal, 2383, that's a significant amount, and it does follow the trend for the most part. You know what I mean? So I feel relatively confident saying that, Mega Dream is going to be, or Ascended Heroes, excuse me, with all the question marks down here, should be a pretty hyped set altogether, and it should sell relatively well. Now, what all does this mean? What are some additional thoughts? Let me spin this back around and I'll tell you guys the full analysis. So what all does this mean? There's a lot of information there, so if you missed anything, be sure to go back. But I personally think that Ascended Heroes is going to be an absolute disaster. I'm going to be honest with you guys. And I think a lot of it has to do with just the allocations that are coming to different stores and stuff like that, and the fact that we just really don't know anything yet. But it is still really early. It's only December 9th at the time that I'm recording this. And the first, release of this isn't expected until, the end of January. So there's still quite a bit of ways. There's still quite a little bit of time before things come out. But for the most part, I really just feel like with the hype that's coming from Mega Dream, and I should have mentioned this before, but while I was kind of preparing for this one, I did happen to log into YouTube and see that PokeRev was doing a live break again for the first time in, I think, a few years. And he was ripping Mega Dream. And when I got in, which was about 35 minutes after the start, there was already a 3-hour queue just to open product. So when you have someone like PokeRev, who has, I think, over 3 million followers here on YouTube, out there pumping the product like this, not really pumping, but, showcasing the product to this degree and showing that much enthusiasm with everything, I think it's going to have a positive effect on the market. And yes, we did get ETBs and booster bundles released by the Pokemon Center already, and it seemed like you can get booster bundles for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours when it was put up on the site. The fact that it doesn't come out until April really doesn't help things. And I personally think that just because this is a specialty set, doesn't mean it's just going to sell more because, the whole God Pack factor or anything like that. I just think it's a really hyped up set. There's a lot of positive market sentiment on this. There's a lot of cool cards in this set, ones that I'm especially going to be going after for sure. But I do think Ascended Heroes is going to be quite popular. And I think the real problem is going to be how much product are we going to have and what is that price going to look like? If scarcity truly exists and they just don't absolutely blast us with higher quantities, which, from what I showed you guys, it looks like there was more quantity available as we went from Destined Rivals to Black Bolt and White Flare and then to Mega Evolutions and now Phantasmal Flames. While that's encouraging, are we actually going to get hit with that with Ascended Heroes in 2026? Who knows? And to make things even better, when we get those booster bundles, there's more than likely going to be another set already out. I wouldn't be shocked if we had a full main set release again sometime in either March or early April, and then those booster bundles will come in the middle of April. But for now, I think people are actually enjoying opening Mega Dream. And, the prices overseas right now are plummeting quite a bit. I was contemplating, do I make a video talking about that and showcasing, hey, what are people actually paying for these overseas? Inferno X, I believe, is like $72 now before tariffs and all the other stuff and the shipping. And Mega Dreams, I think, is like 77 or some, it just depends on who you're talking to. But prices are coming down considerably. And Mega Dream is not done coming down in price yet, selling for about 120, maybe a little bit less than that on TCG Player right now. PokeRev was selling them for 125, which is, I think, a great deal, and you get to see him open them. Not a bad deal at all, but still, I think there's going to be a lot of hype and excitement heading into this. And if you want my honest and true take on it, as long as fatigue doesn't set in, both, entertainment fatigue and wallet fatigue, because wallet fatigue is very real, you're going to see a lot of people want Ascended Heroes. I think it might be very, very difficult to get. I think it's going to be very, very popular. But no, I don't think it's going to be as popular as Terrestrial Festival or Prismatic Evolutions. I just don't. I think that there's going to be way more Prismatic Evolutions printed in 2026, and you're going to have every opportunity to go and get that. But the same is probably going to be said for Ascended Heroes. Like, this is something that hasn't even come out yet. It's going to be in rotation until 2028. It's a long time to enjoy, guys. There's plenty of time to go and enjoy this. As I always say, don't give in to FOMO, but if you want to open up some Mega Dream, go ahead. Just be mindful, try and find a good deal. Prices are continuing to fall a little bit more than normal, which is interesting. But for the most part, I thought it was really interesting to be able to try and compare these two and just see what the early sales data kind of shows for the rest of the sets. Because, as you guys know, I don't need to beat it into your heads, Destined Rivals is pretty popular. Black Bolt and White Flare have held up their values very, very well. Mega Evolution has done incredibly well and is finally starting to kind of settle in its price range. And Phantasmal Flames, of course, is Phantasmal Flames. And we are getting Wave 2 starting this week, heading into next week and the rest. But it's still very popular. It started off as a very, very expensive box off of RIP. And we'll see what happens. But for now, that's what I got for you guys. Let me know down below what you guys think. Are you buying Mega Dream? Are you interested in any type of Japanese content whatsoever, even Japanese product? It's really hit or miss for people, so I'd love to know what you guys think down below. Like the video, subscribe for more. I'm coming back tomorrow with even more content. Be sure not to miss anything. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys tomorrow.